And the way Andrew is, he's not attacking. You want it, this is masculine. This is masculine. The man who stands for, believes in the relationship, his great dad, his great husband, this is masculine. It's not an attack.
What? Men are protectors. It's protectors.
Well, but the thing is like,
right.
if you didn't become so enraged and emotional and you would just listen to what I'm saying, you'd understand the position, right? That's what she's saying here. And she's right. All I'm saying is that projecting how you feel in a moment, in an exact moment, especially when you're heightened, your adrenaline's pumping, you're upset, you can have perceptions of a situation when it's not clear that that actually was what the situation is. It just comes down to, but I felt like that. Did he do anything to you? No, but I felt like he might. Did he actually? I felt like he might have, though. So these things, right, they're really kind of up in the air and there for interpretation. And so before I besmirch men as being abusive or narcissistic or any of these things, I like to see something ever get past the allegation point into the proof point, and that's the point where I get very, very little, right? And so I think that that's reasonable. I think it's logical. I think that people should engage in that more, but they don't. Instead, they just kind of map things onto how I felt in the moment, and then that makes how they felt truth when it may not actually be true.
All your thoughts are true. That's what I'm going to say.
Can I ask you something?
Hang on. Is that thought true?
All your thoughts are, where do your thoughts come from? Where do they come from? Can you tell me where your thoughts come from?
From your brain?
But where? What part of your brain?
I don't know the exact part, but they come from your brain.
Where'd your brain come from?
We just want to explain that it's first red
Well,
flag.
I don't understand. If you think all thoughts are true,
Yeah.
Yes.
can you think a lie?
What?
Can you think a lie?
What do you mean?
Can you think of a
Is it true that you can think up a lie?
I don't lie.
Is it? How would you feel if you
Why
didn't
are we
eat
in a
breakfast this morning?
philosophical conversation now? So off topic.
Anyway, whatever. I guess it's a side tangent. It doesn't really matter.
Can I ask you something?
Anyway, so the point is, though, is all I'm saying is that mapping how you feel onto a thing doesn't make it true. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't mean that that was the truth of the situation.
I'll disagree, but
Well, you can't disagree with that, right? You can disagree that in that situation I'm wrong, sure, but you can't disagree that
control your
just
thoughts, you can
mapping a
control your
feeling
life.
onto a situation
Fine, whatever,
doesn't
fine.
mean that the truth of the matter is that is how the situation was.
I am taking responsibility for my choices. I just, it was actually a trauma that I had that I fixed it with a different boyfriend and went haywire. So
Yeah, no, I understand, but let me try again. Let me try it this way. If my daughter comes out and she says, "Dad, I feel like there's a monster under the bed," and I go in a room and I look under the bed and there's no monster under the bed, right? Is the truth of the matter that there is actually a monster under the bed because she feels like there is one?
But if your daughter came to
Hang
you
on.
and she's
Don't-
16 and she
don't.
said, "Hey,
What
a guy
about-
hit the
don't
wall
gaslight
next to my
Your
face,"
child into feeling like they're
would you not be
liars?
upset about
it's a lot of
that?
gaslighting.
Hang on. Answer the question, then ask a question.
But this isn't
my daughter
imaginary.
If my daughter looked under her bed, I went and
That's
looked
the
under her
proof.
bed, there's no monster there. I showed her there's no monster there. How she feels.
She's not talking
is the
about an
truth.
imaginary circumstance, though.
Is it possible for you to engage with the actual question and then ask yours? So, is how she feels the truth of the matter?
Lying is the root of all trauma.
Can
Lying
you answer my question?
Literally.
Can you actually answer the question?
Who
Is
are
that
you
even
talking to,
possible?
Alina or
Yeah,
me?
who are you talking to?
I'm talking to, this would be Laura. So, Laura, the question is, would the truth of the matter be that there was a monster under the bed, even if she felt like there was one?
No, there's no monster, but you're comparing this to actual domestic violence, which I don't really love. So that's where
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but
I don't feel
actually
that way.
understand
Look
what
up the definition
I don't
of
actually
domestic
understand what the problem is with the comparison of feeling to feeling if we're judging whether the truth of the matter is the truth of the matter.
But this wasn't an imaginary boyfriend. like an
Monster is
imaginary
not-
monster. Like you're comparing two things that are not the same.
Yeah.
No, I'm
That's
comparing
like
feelings.
asking somebody
No,
if that
There's
was
no
not.
feeling.
Is
It's
that-
not a feeling.
It's not
Is
a
that
feeling.
blue or
You're
is that
you're-
green? I could say that's red.
It is a
if I really
feeling.
wanted to.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's a feeling, right? If you punch a wall, you can't tell me that you can determine intent based off of somebody punching a wall. You can't determine that. You can only feel a certain way about it. That's it.
But if the person
but
is
your
punching the
feelings
walls
matter.
and
I just think you're minimizing
he would be
DV, and if you
punching
look
the
up the
walls on the
definition,
first
like
date
it's
and the
there.
second date, and right from the start, he would be, if he was
What are we
mentally
Just so
sick,
you,
right?
just so you understand, when you're talking about definitions, people can define a thing however they choose to define a thing, right? As long as it's coherent, makes sense, and it's indicative of the thing which it's pointing at, that's totally fine. So, as far as the definition goes, I don't see any actual problem.
I see what
with
you're
having
saying. I
in the
just feel like you're
definition.
excusing his behavior, which I don't
I'm not
love.
excusing.
I just feel like by
so-
arguing about it this much, you're
This
excusing
is
the behavior and
phenomenal.
saying it's okay, even though you wouldn't do it to your wife.
It's
And even though
phenomenal.
your
When
daughter,
did you
if
feel
a
it's
guy
okay?
did this to her, you wouldn't love it. So
Yeah,
I just
so
feel like you're
why are
excusing
you-
it.
Why are you lying and saying I said it was okay? When did I ever say
I don't
that?
think he
You're
ever
not
said
saying it's
that.
okay,
I
but
really
fighting
don't
about
think
it
he
this
said that.
much, it just
Those
seems
Those
like you're
words did not
excusing
come out
it.
of his mouth specifically.
No, I literally
gotta let him
never
Unless they
said
did,
anything
he's
was
not
okay.
lying.
What I said was, I gave an argument for how you can map feelings onto a situational reality where the feelings don't mean that that is the truth of the matter. Instead of contending with what I said, you interjected your feelings and then made up shit I didn't even say because of how my words made you feel.
I agree.
I just think by making all these comparisons, it seems like you're condoning it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. That's an opinion.
That's an accusation,
Well,
not an
okay,
opinion.
well, it seems like you
accusation, it's an
condone
opinion.
essay. By the way that you talk, you
On
condone
air,
essay.
too. That's crazy.
Because I feel that way. I just feel like you're the type of person who
On
condones
live
essay. I feel like
on
it.
a live broadcast is crazy.
Right?
SA?
Yeah.
What's SA?
It's a
Soul.
word, but.
You're
Do you
supposed
not
to
know what
say
that
this
is?
term here, words.
Yeah, I just feel like that. I feel like you're the type of person who does, because I feel that way. Who needs proof, right? We can just make whatever allegations we want just based on how we feel, right?
There will be physical proof.
In my opinion, behind every action, there is something deeper that actually motivating that action. So I'll give you an example from my personal life, between me and my husband. I call it pizza example. He got really, really mad because pizza was not done correctly. You know what was before that? I wanted to make pizza and lay in the pepperoni in a certain way to make it really perfect. He wanted the pepperoni to be laid in one level, right? So he got mad that I haven't done it. But what is not understood, I mean, you can interpret his reaction by that he is an asshole, that he got mad, but in reality what happened, you gotta look in the past. His mom was pushing the food on him that he absolutely didn't like. It triggered a certain emotion. I had a critical parent who things were not good enough. So I tried to overcompensate where he felt like he was not heard. So is it about pizza? It's not.
Right.
It's
right.
all
So-
of the stuff that is
So
underneath.
this is a good example. You're saying, okay, so now feelings are involved and other things are going on in the material world which are backed by the feelings that we can look at. But it's up to interpretation here, right? There's a lot of interpretation which goes into the feeling. And so that's all I'm trying to say is that, when you say things like you're mitigating DV, right? Or you're trying to somehow make it seem like it's not as bad as it is. Quite the opposite. What I'm doing is adhering to a standard for how we can even judge these things coherently without slander and accusation and innuendo and backbiting and front stabbing and all that shit. Rather, some type of appeal to a standard which is unerring and doesn't change. Something that would be backed by evidence and not feelings. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I couldn't have said so smart as you are. You're using so many fancy words.
It's okay. We got the memo.
All right, where were we?
Next question.
Moving on.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on.
Oh yeah, Kylie, you did have something. Go ahead.
Oh, I did. So is he still listening?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're downplaying
Just let-
her relationship because what? he punches near her, he throws stuff near her, but he doesn't actually hit her. So if a kid were to come to a school with a gun and someone saw it, but he doesn't, like, how do you know if he's going to shoot anyone? He just has it.
Well, so I'll
Like, that's not
answer this
Racist
question,
thought that
right?
counts. He thought about it, so what makes you think that he's not
so
going
I'll
to do
answer,
it?
Okay, I'll answer the question as it's actually presented. So if you're talking about this, you couldn't determine 100% what his motivations would be, right? You would have to err on the side of caution and the trends in the past, which if somebody brings this said object to school, usually the intention is nefarious. Though it does not mean in this particular instance it was, we would assume that it was, and we would act accordingly, especially since the school says that you can't have the gun there, et cetera, for good reason. So you would base this along patterns, you'd base it along the law, you'd base it along the actual action, right? When you're talking about DV, it's going to be the exact same thing. It's not just up to interpretation, it's up to action. So I can think of many situations where a man could get frustrated and throw something and meant no harm to anybody, or punch a wall out of frustration and meant no harm to anybody. The interpretation which comes in, the feelings-based interpretation, you may not like that, but it's very difficult for us to always map on motive if we don't have better context than just one time he hit a wall next to me, right?
No, but she had mentioned that he was throwing things at her. So why would she not think that she could be next? Like,
Well, we're
That's a
not
good
very
sign.
clear on the exact situation, are we, right? We don't know what the sequence of events was. Did he throw things at her before he punched the wall?
She didn't
Like, we don't
say
really
he threw
know
things
any
at
of
her.
this.
She just said he threw things.
But ultimately,
across the room.
just to
Is that
kind of
how he-
grant this,
Yeah, I did say
he
that.
did
just
throw
just
things
to
at her.
This is
just to
all
grant all of
recorded,
this,
guys.
right? I'm just going to grant
I
all
can
of it.
replay it
That
for
he's
you
thrown
guys
things
if you
at
guys
her.
would like.
I'll
Yeah,
even grant.
Stop. Go, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go, Andrew, you go ahead. Just
I was just saying, I
gotta
can
let
just
him
I can
talk.
just grant all of this as being true. It doesn't matter. My statement that your feelings are interpretive is not ever going to change. Your feelings are totally interpretive, and just because you feel like something is true, it doesn't make it true. It's interpretive. There's no changing that, but what I see women always do is say, how I feel is valid, and it's not open to interpretation. How I feel is true. And it's like, no, that's not the truth of the matter just because you feel that way. That's my point.